So what happened was China, throughout history, the history of the world, China and India have been the most dominant civilizations to have ever
Yeah.
existed, because Britain was importing so much of tea and porcelain and silk from China and India, that the trade deficit between China and Britain was tremendous. So what Britain realized, that this is not going to last. They are taking away all our wealth. So what ended up happening is they introduced opium into the Chinese market, and they actually used India to do it. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, right? Why do we have these competitive exams in India? Just think about it. We have been told that somebody who is meritorious gets to crack the exams, and somebody who lacks merit is not able to crack the exams. That's what we've been told. But that is completely untrue. Hey, Rishav, how's it going?
Hey, partner, it's going good. It's going really good. How are the winters in Singapore?
Winters were okay. There's no winter, but it was winter in terms of work. So it was very light in
Okay.
December, right? Practically the last
Okay.
2 weeks of December, there was hardly any
Yeah.
work being done. And suddenly everybody has come back from vacation and all the pending work, they have been reminded of all the pending work. And now everybody has just, the work has ramped up like crazy. Yeah. So this last week was like, oh my God, it was brutal and it was so hard to get back to business. When you had 2 lazy weeks, it was very hard. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Everybody was going through it. How about you? Is it like as busy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very, very, very. It's post-holiday season rush, man. Work rush. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So everyone's come back. Like during December, most of the people were on leaves in the holiday season,
Yeah.
and we were not getting much feedback from the customers and everything from our clients because most of them were on leaves. They didn't care about the emails. Now they're catching up. Now most of the emails begin with catching up on the pending emails, and it's flowing in. It's flowing in.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's like I don't
work is
even
flowing in.
remember half the things that was discussed in December. And suddenly,
Yeah,
okay,
man.
this was pending, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard. For me, especially, like this week, I just didn't even recognize how it was Monday and it just went to Friday. It just passed by like crazy.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
exactly. This week started and it finished like in a snap. Thanos' a
Yeah.
snap, man.
Yeah, exactly. So what are the topics that we are going to cover today?
So the main topics that we're going to cover today is basically the choices and dilemmas that the young Indians face coming
Yeah.
out of their school, coming out of the college, career dilemmas that they face. That's one of the biggest struggling factors that I think we both have gone through. Our whole age group
Mm.
has gone.
Yep.
And yeah, I think we can, since we have reached to the other side, I think we can touch base and have a little bit of a light conversation regarding that. Can act as a big brothers to our younger brothers just finishing school. The first,
On this, I'll just add one point that I'm sure young people are facing a lot of dilemma and a lot of choices, right? They need to choose between all these options that they have. But to be honest, even us, right? Even though we are like in our late 20s now, we also are quite confused about a lot of different things. So maybe just one small point on this is that if you think that you are spoiled for choice, or maybe you are facing a paradox of plenty, don't worry. This is going to happen to you for the rest of your life, because every
yeah,
stage presents its own challenges and its own issues. So we can tell you that in your early 20s, you're going to face a lot of dilemma in terms of what to choose in terms of your career, in terms of your dating choices, in terms of your finances and everything. But also when you grow up, the complexity is going to increase because you have a lot more to lose. So yeah, we are also not completely safe from this dilemma in a way.
yeah, yeah. We have different choices at this stage of life. It's a different set of dilemma, but yeah,
Yeah.
the dilemma thing is one thing that's consistent throughout your different stages of life. I'm
Yeah.
sure after we've reached a certain point, we'll be able to comment on how the best way to go is about in this phase of transitioning in our lives. And maybe back then we'll be facing a different set of dilemmas.
True.
That's life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Flash alert. It doesn't get easier. It just gets
Doesn't get easier.
so yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, let's begin right where, the young adults begin. Finishing off school. That's when you know, okay, you know what, I'm entering. That's the first, stage of life that you go through where you actually have a lot of choices that you have to make. You are completely changing gears and everything. You're changing a vehicle that you have been traveling in for the last 13 years. So like, what was like, let's start off light on that. What was your experience when, finishing your 12th, finishing your school, giving your board exams? What was it like?
Yeah. So right now it feels almost crazy that it was 10 years back. So I graduated in 2016. You graduated in 2017 or
Yeah,
2016, 2017, right?
17,
So
17.
yeah. So it was almost 9, 10 years back for us. And the last 10 years have been a roller coaster ride like crazy. I still remember I think I had discussed about this in our first podcast that I always wanted to become a doctor. My father is a doctor.
Mm,
So I always idolized him and I thought, okay, I'll become a doctor. But then after 12th, I was in a huge dilemma because suddenly becoming a doctor was no longer an option for me because I had to like almost get rid of it because of multiple reasons. Mainly that I realized that, I did not want to become a doctor as such. I actually wanted to have my own hospital. And in a way, I realized that I wanted to become a businessman. So that was like a huge revelation for me. So it was very confusing because I had to drop the plan that I had for the last 10, 11 years. Right? Suddenly I did not know what else to do. And I was super confused. So I ended up taking a gap year in 2016. So I was confused between, let's say, I wanted to do commerce, right? I wanted to get a BCom degree, and then maybe I would get into chartered accountancy or maybe an MBA after that. But my parents were not very happy with that decision. So I was left with two choices. One was medicine, which was no longer an option. And then the only thing was pending, which was engineering. So, like most Indian people, I ended up doing engineering. Yeah, but that gap year was super brutal for me. It was very, very hard because all my friends had graduated, they had joined some college, they were enjoying their college life. And I was one of those few people who were stuck in their own house and who had only one job to do was to study and crack the exam eventually. But it was mentally very draining because when you're young, right, everything feels like a crisis, like a world ending
yeah.
crisis. And to me, it was so tough to see all my friends were moving, moving well in their lives. And I was the one who was feeling left behind. Even I had a girlfriend back then. I was dating someone, and she used to not be very happy that I was in my house and I was not spending enough time with her. But she was in a college. So she felt that FOMO, right? Because all her friends were going around with their boyfriends. So yeah, very tough for me. 2016 was a brutal, brutal year for me, but I somehow survived. And here I am 10 years later in a different country with a job in a good company. Like totally my life has changed. And I wish I could tell my 2016 self, that don't stress out so much. It's all going to work out. Just work hard and stay focused. How was it like for you?
Oh man, for me, the love life was a huge part. It was a huge factor. It played a huge role in doing the bad things to my studies and just keeping me distracted and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Later in my life, at this point, I realized, the amount of efforts you should put into your certain different aspects of your life. That was a huge lesson for me. I did not have a very good, transition from the school to college. The end bit of my school time, I think that was the worst phase. It was full of shame, guilt, everything that the society puts on you because I
Why?
have
Why was it
repeated years.
shame? Shame and guilt. Why was it like that?
Yeah, because I have repeated a year, and that becomes in Indian societies that is a huge thing. That's the way failures are treated, and yeah, being a failure, being in a even your friend group starts looking at you in a different way. They treat you
Which
different.
year
They
was
talk to you
this?
differently.
Which year
Which
was
year
this?
was this? I think I repeated my ninth standard, so
Okay.
yeah, right before my 10th. Yeah,
Don't
I
worry. I,
don't
I was
remember the
also
year.
not too far away. I almost passed my 11th grade because it was
Uh,
a huge challenge for me. Even though I did
hmm,
well in my 10th grade, I just
hmm, hmm,
somehow
hmm.
managed to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember flunking chemistry in class 11. I was super
Okay.
bad in
Yeah.
chemistry. Not that I didn't find chemistry hard, but
Mm.
the 11th grade teacher that I had in my new school, he
Okay.
he was in he was working on another level. Okay, he was setting
Okay.
questions from IIT JEE in class 11, and
Okay.
I just couldn't crack it. I remember I failed. I flunked that exam by like 5 marks or so. So it was very
Okay.
tough for me as well. Yeah,
Okay. That is unrealistic. I
yeah,
mean, how do you? Okay, that is different. Yeah, my
yeah.
journey was very, very different in that regard. Yeah. So when back to what I was saying, like, the shame and the guilt and everything.
Hmm.
It's like you are socially ostracized completely from society, from your friend group, from your friend circle, and yeah, it hits you. It hits you hard. Yeah, and that's when you have a significant other, that does help definitely, and yeah, that did help me at that point. That did help. So yeah, that was what it was like. But I knew one thing for sure, given the amount of failures that I have had in that stage of life. Moving on to the next stage of life, I did not have much expectations out of myself. So that was one thing that was easy for me. I kept my bar low. I mean, it was set low by everyone. I just went ahead with it, and that that really did. I mean, I would kind of would say like I took on the pressure of that moving into the next phase of life earlier with the trauma that I had to go through and everything with the whole failing thing happening. So that it made my transition easier. So I knew I just wanted to become accountancy honors. Just get into a college to become accountancy honors. See what I want to do after that. I mean, I that's the crux of the society. It makes
But
you
it's
high
very
achievers.
interesting. One question I would like to ask you, and I think we have iterated this a lot of times already in our videos. So you experienced failure early on in your life, right? And you realize, okay, there's a lot of shame and trauma that is associated with it. But do you feel, honestly, just think about it once, do you feel that it's better off that you experienced failure early on in your life? Has it made you more resilient? Has it made you realize that, yeah, even if you experience failure, doesn't really change anything. You survive and you find a different route. You're doing well for yourself now, right? That failure doesn't hold you back in any way. It's not like you are now on the streets homeless. So do you think that actually it's a good thing that it happened to you early on in your life?
That's actually a very good question. There was a time when there's a question, common question. If you went back in time, what would you change? Change. What would be the one thing that you would change in your life? So if I ask this question to myself in my teens, late teens, go-to answer would have been to change the fact that I failed, study more, be more diligent with my studies, and go ahead with life. Now that I'm in this phase of my life, I would say I wouldn't change a single thing because I wouldn't have been here if I hadn't gone through that. That's one in hindsight when I look back, yeah, that was something which is necessary for me. Achieving failure. Now I have started looking at failure in a completely through a completely different lens. I try more things and I fail at a lot of things, that definitely. And yeah, but it doesn't discourage me right now like it did before. A fear that I
Yeah,
had, I mean, it trains your nervous system to work in that way, to be your mind associates failure with that. I mean, it's still there to an extent, of course, in my mind, but I have come to overcome it. And the things that I have learned, I mean, it's crazy the things that I've learned by achieving failure over and over again with different new things. This could be one of the things. If this doesn't work out, it wouldn't discourage me. Like, come on, like we'll just try something else. That's how life goes. That's the thing. The society trains you to think like what people think about it, what the person in front of you thinks about you. You should think a lot about that. They do think a lot about you, maybe like in that aspect, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. At the end of the day, what they are thinking about you, is it really affecting you? I don't think so. I mean, if you just choose to cut that out, that's it. That's the end of it. Let them ostracize you. Let them make you out to be whatever they want to make you, whatever they want you to be. But that doesn't make you to be who you are. You At the end of the day, the choice lies with you. So yeah, that is what it is.
even I
Yeah.
would say that. So as I said, I flunked in chemistry. I almost flunked
Mm,
class 11, and remember, I was coming off from being a topper. So
yeah.
I was the class 10 ICSE board topper from my school. So I was always good in studies. And suddenly to go from there, from the very top, to almost flunking, I
Yeah.
hit rock bottom, right? And I used to be super depressed. I used to be like, I thought I had messed up my entire life. There's no
Yeah.
hope left for me. I was that
Yeah.
depressed with my own
Mm.
failure. But to be honest, it was very hard. But now when I look back at it, right, I'm glad that I experienced failure early on in life.
Yeah.
Because as you said, right, this idea that we have in India, which is log kya kahenge, log kya sochenge, it is so prevalent in our lives. It is such a important thing for us as Indians. Ki log kya kahenge, what will other people think? That mindset shift that I got
Mm.
once I realized, okay, I have hit rock bottom, but I'm not dead. Okay, I'm not dead. And I can only do better from here. It cannot
Mm.
get worse, right?
Mm. Mm.
I was clueless about my life. I was totally clueless what I'm going to do next. And there's this expectation. And because I was always a good student, and the expectation was sky high. So I was
Yeah.
already dealing with that stress. I'm the older brother of two, right? I have a younger brother.
Mm.
So there's that expectation there as well from the family side, responsibility, etc., etc. But I realized that, okay, I have overcome all those challenges. I have not succumbed to my failures, but rather I have worked hard and harder and harder. And today I am in a place, in a position which I never thought I could reach, despite all my failures. So I would say that I am very, very happy that I experienced failure, because I see a lot of my friends who are right now in a similar age bracket, right? They have not faced any failures before in their school life or in their college. But now they are experiencing failures of different sorts.
Yeah.
Someone is
Yeah.
facing issues at work, right? Maybe they're stuck in a bad job, right? In a toxic environment. They cannot move out of their job. Someone is not being able to crack the various exams, right? Somebody is trying to go for UPSC, somebody is trying to go for CAT. Different exams are there in India. So now they're experiencing failures in life. I have a friend who is a doctor. He was like struggling with getting into the master's program, the MD program, for like 5 years. So for the last 5 years, he was basically without a job, right? No income. And he's the only child. So now that they're experiencing failures, they just don't know what to do, because life has been working out, has been following a path so far. And
Mm.
suddenly nothing is working. But
Yeah.
right now I can tell you that having experienced failure in my younger days, I'm still young, but in my much younger days, I'm glad. I'm honestly very, very glad that I experienced failure so early on in life, because now I know for a fact that no matter what happens, no matter how bad the situation gets, you can always overcome it.
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
this is a lesson that I learned in life, and I think I'm going to cherish it
Yeah.
for the rest of my life. No matter how bad it gets,
100%. It's
you
gonna
can
work
always
out. Like
overcome.
yeah, that's what it is. Like your brain has been trained for so many years on one thing. Now, when you face the other thing, it becomes very difficult, especially when you're facing it outside the age range, when your brain actually stops learning
Yeah.
that efficiently. That becomes very difficult. So I think I would consider myself to be lucky to have experienced failure during that time. It helped me retrain myself. I think that's a boon.
That fear of
That's a
failure
part
is
of growth.
gone from my life, I can tell you.
Exactly.
I'm not afraid to
Exactly.
fail anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
even if I think about it, right, I think everyone experiences failure. It's
Mm,
just that some people are able to overcome it, some
mm,
people dwell on it, some people are just
yeah.
not able to move past that. Like, I can tell you a story about when I joined engineering college. The story that happens that I see is very, very common in the engineering
Mm,
colleges is that I went to a tier 3 engineering college. I didn't go to an IIT or an NIT, right? A local private college, right? Most of the people there, none of us cracked IIT, right? Otherwise we wouldn't be
mm,
in that college. I never wanted to go to an IIT in the first place, right? Because I was always interested in studying medicine. Engineering was a second choice, right? But most of the friends that I had in my engineering college, they were all very, very keen on attending school in IITs. So they had all
yeah.
appeared for the JEE, they had all prepared for the JEE, but they were somehow unable to crack it. 4 years of engineering college, I heard people complaining and being super upset that they are unable to crack IIT, that they were unable to crack IIT. I saw people who completely lost their confidence. They thought they are going to amount to nothing in their lives. And this was such a common conversation. People felt like they had lost in life. There's no hope left for them. And I would be like, why do you think so? You can always acquire new skills. You can join the good company. And even if you don't go to an IIT, you can always learn coding, learn programming, appear for the interviews and crack it outside of your college. And to be honest, a lot of people did that. A lot of my friends are in Amazon. They're in the fan companies, right? Amazon, Google, very good companies. Some people even, we had one friend who even decided to end his life because it was not, he was very depressed about his career prospects, right? So I have seen all of that. But the fact of the matter is this shame and this guilt, we need to get rid of that, right? We need to
Yeah.
realize that we are all getting this one life. We're not going to get
Hmm.
another life. We are all living the life for the first time. And it's absolutely okay to not win certain things and to win at other things. But there are definitely things that you can win. It's not the end of the world. That I would like
Yeah, I
to
mean, no
highlight to
one
all the
has
young
the
people.
yeah, no one has the final solution to doing everything right in life. Come on,
Yeah,
that's just impossible.
that's just
So
that's
yeah,
just not going to
that's
happen.
just unreal. That's a
Yeah.
utopian universe that people might be living in. So, yeah,
And
no one
especially in
ha
India,
has all
people
the
who
answers.
appear for these competitive exams, I've seen that a lot of them, they crack multiple competitive exams. So they go to IIT,
Hmm.
they go to IIM, then they crack UPSC. They're very good at cracking all these exams. But eventually, when you see what they end up doing in their lives, it's going to be a
Hmm.
job, right? They're not going to change the world in any way. So what I essentially want to say is that it's a very good skill if you have.
Hmm.
If you want to crack these exams, it's very good if you're able to crack them. And it's absolutely fine if you're not able to crack them. If you think about it, right? Why do we have these competitive exams in India? Just think about it. We have been told that somebody who is meritorious gets to crack the exams and somebody who lacks merit is not able to crack the exams. That's what we've been told. But that is completely untrue. If let's say if I have 1,000 people, if I have 1,000 students who have graduated from class 12, and 500 of them want to study engineering, 500 of them want to study medicine. Okay, what is the harm in allowing everybody to study? Because in your engineering exam or on your medical entrance exam, you are asked, for medicine you need to learn about biology, chemistry and physics. For engineering you need to learn about mathematics, physics and chemistry, right?
Yeah.
These three subjects that you learn, eventually in engineering, maybe some cases you'll find useful, but in most of the subjects, it is absolutely useless. For
Yeah.
medicine, where will your knowledge about physics come into play?
Hmm.
Just think about it. Maybe chemistry will help, biology a little bit will help, but where is it actually going to test this knowledge? It's not needed.
Yeah.
The reason why
Yeah.
these competitive exams exist in India is not to find merit or is not to find meritorious people. It is basically to
Hmm.
filter out people who are unable to crack these
Yeah. Yeah.
exams.
Exactly. Exactly. That
This
is,
thing I don't think people understand in India. They
yeah. Even
somehow,
I understood this later in life.
yeah, for young people, right? They believe that if they are not able to crack IIT JEE, they're not smart.
Hmm.
IIT JEE is not testing how smart somebody is. It is
Hmm.
testing how capable somebody is in terms of solving these mathematical problems or these physics problems or these chemistry problems in the set
Hmm.
amount of time. So all these coaching institutes that you have, they're not
Hmm.
making you study subjects to understand or go deeper. They are
Hmm.
teaching you how to solve problems
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
the fastest way possible. So somebody who is not very smart but hardworking, diligent, can
Yeah.
crack these
Yeah.
exams.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And somebody who is very, very smart, if he doesn't work hard or if she doesn't stay focused, will not be able to crack this. So it's more like a test of hard work and dedication rather than smartness. And maybe somebody who is in the 16, 17, 18 years of age, they are not that wise to put in that effort. But it does not guarantee that these people who have cracked all these exams are going to become super successful in life. And it
Hmm.
also does not say that somebody who is unable to crack these exams are stupid and will never achieve anything in life. It does not say that.
Yeah.
We need to understand this.
Yeah.
This idea of people paying money to attend colleges, it is frowned upon in India. But if you think
Yeah.
about it, the reason why you go to school abroad, like you go to school in the US, it's going to cost you lakhs and crores to study there. The only reason why you don't have to pay a lot of money, let's say you want to study from a government medical school, you don't have to pay a lot of money, is because the government is subsidizing this cost. Because India is a poor country, we are unable to afford the medical education, which is very expensive. The government subsidizes it. That's why we are running after all these government seats. But if you think
Yeah.
about it, somebody is paying for it.
Yeah, of course.
It's just not us.
Yes, it's not us.
So I think a lot of people are confused about this. They somehow
Hmm.
equate being able to crack these competitive exams with merit,
Uh,
which is not
uh,
true. I'm not saying people who are cracking these exams are stupid. I'm saying that people who crack these exams are hardworking and diligent. They have done very well for themselves. But somebody who is unable to crack it does not
hmm.
necessarily mean that they are stupid,
Yeah, that's true. That's
right?
true.
So
I'll be very honest. I mean,
yeah.
I have been there myself. I had taken one of the, I think, exams for railways. I mean, my family forced me to because I never wanted to really go towards the government sector job side. But they forced me to take this exam and I studied for it half-heartedly because I did not want to crack the exam, to be honest. And I didn't clear it. But yeah, I did see it when you look at these exams from the brass tacks point of view, when it comes to the problem solvings or the mathematical problem solvings that you mentioned, it's not very different from the other competitive exams. It's just the difficulty that's different. At the end of the day, the problem solving in these different exams, CAT, UPSC, a railway exam, let's say, it's very, very similar. In some exams, the difficulty is different. That's how these exams differentiate, in my opinion. Talking about degrees and careers, what's your take on, like, doing a degree right out of, right out of bachelor's? Like, let's say you finished your 12 and then you finished your bachelor's degree. What is your take on, like, having a job, going and getting a job right after bachelor's, or like compare versus doing a degree, master's, pursuing further studies after bachelor's? What's your take on it?
So I would say that there is a part of my thinking which is very idealistic, and there is
Hmm.
another which is practical. In an idealistic world, in an ideal world, I would say that somebody who is 18 barely knows anything about life. And to say that they will be capable of deciding what they're going to do for the rest of their lives, I think is blatantly stupid. It doesn't work. Because at 18, I was dumb. I think at 18, all of us were kind of stupid and naive. So it was very hard. It is very, very hard for someone who is that young to decide that, okay, this is going to be my career path for the rest of my life. So ideally, something that is done in the US would be I feel, would be a very good way of pursuing degrees, which is in the US after 18, after you're 18 years of age, you graduate from school. You have the option to go for a 4 years undergraduate degree, right? It can be in any subject. And after you complete your bachelor's, you then get to decide what are the basic streams that we have in our world today, which is mainly business related studies. So you can go to a business school. If you want to go for medicine, then you can go to medical school. Or if you want to study law, you can go to law school, right? There are different other schools as well, but you choose to pursue that sort of a professional degree later on in your life when you've had the basic undergraduate degree done and you know, okay, this is the landscape, these are my interests, these are my opportunities, let me pursue a professional degree as such. In India, you don't have that option. Most people don't have that option. So if you want to study medicine, you better crack the exam and join the medical school. If you want to study engineering, you have to do that. Law, same thing. So going to school is important. Maybe in the age of AI, I don't know what is going to be 10 years down the line. Things might change. But yeah, I think that somebody, if they want, the practical side of it is to actually pursue the degree. Now, after you pursue your bachelor's, now comes the tricky question. What do you do?
Yeah.
Now, there are two segments of people. Broadly, if I take the vast majority of people, there are two segments. One who are academically inclined. So they want to be in academics in some way. They want to be researchers or they want to be scholars, something like that. So they end up pursuing masters, getting a doctorate, and eventually postdoctorate as well. That is one side. This is mainly for people who want to remain in academics. But if you want to make money, then I don't think this is going to work out, because to make money, the best thing that you can do is start working as soon as possible. I'm very upset that, in India, people don't do part-time work. Most people don't do part-time work because our parents support us throughout our college life. Even
Hmm.
after getting married, people stay with their parents and everything,
Hmm.
which is okay. But I would strongly hope that, people would have pursued something apart from their school, which is a part-time work.
Yeah. So I think, it depends ultimately at the end of the day. After your bachelor's, your goal depends on you. on your situation. It's situation to situation basis. What your goals are, what your situation is. If you, a lot of people can, have to take responsibilities early on in their lives. That definitely necessitates you to go out and get a job early. And
Hmm.
I think it's a good thing. I mean, these are two different trajectories at the end of the day. And yeah, they both work out in their own ways, definitely. And nothing is wrong. Life after that point, nothing is black and white. It's all gray.
Yeah.
It's really on you how you take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of post bachelor's or post one, many wonder if like moving abroad is like a golden ticket in terms of jobs or like studying abroad. So like since you went to the job, what's your take on studying moving abroad after your bachelor's or your 12th and going through studies? What's your take
No,
on that?
I would say most vast majority of people actually move abroad through studies. So they
Mm,
pursue some degree or the other.
mm,
Most people who are like very financially well off, they have the resources, they would go for their bachelor's directly. And it makes sense for some people. But for most people, they pursue their masters abroad. Coming abroad with a job is a little bit more tough, but it's not undoable. It is not impossible because I have personally done that. It's just a function of the skills that you have. So if you are highly skilled, then moving abroad with a job is possible. It's easier. But if you're young, right, and you do not acquire skills during your bachelor's, let's say you're pursuing your bachelor's from India and you have not acquired new skills that can be useful to a new employer, right? Then it'll be very hard. So the only route that you are left with is moving abroad. If you come abroad for education, then it's a totally different ball game, okay? Because you are spending money.
yeah.
Let's take that into account. Studying abroad is not cheap. Even if you go to a average college, you are easily looking at like 30-40 lakhs of spend. Good colleges, expensive colleges, 60 lakhs, 70 lakhs. Depends a lot on the area that you're going to, the country that you're going to. So it is expensive. So you are going to spend a significant chunk of your wealth and resources on that. And also you might have to take a educational loan or something. So there's a lot of different stressors involved in this, right? Also, the visa thing, it's not very straightforward, especially in countries like the US. Right now, the visa situation is not very good. Okay, so it's a whole different ball game. So yes, I would say that moving abroad can absolutely be a game changer if you're moving with a job. But moving abroad with education loan, pursuing a degree, is much, much, much more tough. I haven't done that. I was getting paid when I moved here. I was
Mm,
making money. And
mm,
I used to think, okay, if I am under so much of stress despite making money abroad and still thinking, whether I'll be able to get a full time offer eventually, I wonder how people deal with the stress when they move as students. I used to really I have massive respect for these people who move abroad with the educational loan and stuff. It's very stressful. It's not for the faint of heart, according to
yeah,
me,
absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely. I mean, speaking of what you just said about the visa issues and everything, let me move to the US. I think there has been an ongoing global outrage against Indians for living abroad. What's your take on that? How do you think that really affects moving abroad, be it with studies or with a job, let's say? How do you think that affects this entire thing, the abroad dream?
I think it has been true and it will always be true that people who are not exactly like us, or rather, let me put it like this. I think it has always been true that in any society, in any country, in any region, even in India, right? If you're moving from one state to another, new people are always the victims of some sort of xenophobia,
Yeah.
right? They are always a victim of some sort of xenophobia. And it's especially true if you're moving countries, right? Because most of the world right now is not having the best of economic situations. Okay, the economic condition in most countries is not good. So, who are the people who fall victim whenever such a situation arises? It is almost always the immigrants in any country. Why? Because whenever the economic situation is not good, the politicians start blaming the immigrants. That so many immigrants have moved here that now we cannot offer you jobs because they have taken all the jobs and the local population is enraged, of
Mm,
course, and the whole blame is given to the immigrants who have moved, and they're the easy target. If you see US history, all throughout the history of the United States, different immigrants were facing xenophobia and ostracization in different stages of the history. It started off with Italian immigrants. That's why you had the mafia and all that, right? Then you had Chinese immigrants, right? You had the same situation with the Koreans. And
Mm,
now, unfortunately, because so many of Indians have moved
mm,
abroad, and everywhere you go, you'll find Indians. We are the largest country in the world in terms of population right now. So Indian and Chinese people you'll always find. We are the latest target. So we
mm,
are the ones who are being blamed for all the problems in the world. People
mm,
are like blaming us like anything. And I think these things are regrettable. These things are very unfortunate. But we essentially don't have any control over this. We
okay.
don't. We can't do anything about it. So this is a reality that you'll need to accept, right? I think this is very unfortunate that this is happening, but people have to realize that this is the reality. So they are going to face some sort of xenophobia. They're probably going to experience racism of some sort. It is better in some countries, it is very bad in
Mm,
others. But this is true.
yeah,
They will experience it a little bit. It's
yeah.
just that you can try to assimilate, you can try to interact with good people, and hopefully your experiences will be minimal. But in some way or the other, you'll face this. Like, fortunately enough, I can
Yeah.
tell you in Singapore, it is not so bad. It is very good. People are quite welcoming here. So it's not been so bad for me.
Mm,
But in other countries, right, I hear the news, I see the news. It's not the best right now for
mm,
Indians.
yeah. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
on one hand, you have this statistic, right, that
Mm,
probably racism against Indians is increasing. On the other
mm,
hand, we more people have moved out of India in the last 5 years than
mm,
they used to. So
mm,
I think I was watching this video by Ruchir Sharma and Pranay
mm,
Roy, who do the yearly forecast, right, about the economy. And they said that I think 700,000 people left in the
mm,
last year itself, whereas
mm,
the average used to be 300,000 Indians used to leave India every year. So
mm.
more Indians are leaving India than ever, despite all the bad things. So that
That's
tells you
crazy.
something wrong. Why
That
people
is
are choosing to move abroad, despite all these challenges.
that is crazy, man. That statistic
Yeah,
is crazy. But I
yeah.
do beg to differ on one point where you mentioned about having no control when it comes to, the xenophobia from the other side. So I think there is to an extent a little bit of control from the perspective that what you just mentioned, Chinese and the Indian population are the largest populations all over the globe right now, regardless of the geography. So, but my point is like, haven't the Chinese population faced this backlash that the Indian population is facing?
No,
So
no, they have. They have.
they have.
They actually have. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah. The Chinese have faced a similar backlash for
Mm-hmm.
centuries, actually. And as a matter of fact, the Chinese actually believe that I think between the 1600s and 1800s, it was the century of humiliation, centuries of humiliation. So
Mm-hmm.
this leads to an interesting topic about the Opium Wars. Okay.
Okay.
So what happened was China throughout history, throughout the history of the world, China and India have been the most dominant civilizations to have ever
Yeah.
existed. Number one was always China in terms of wealth and power, and number two was always India, wealth and
Mm,
power. Right now, China had a trade surplus with
mm,
Britain because Britain was importing so much of tea and porcelain and silk
mm,
from China and India that the trade deficit between China and the Britain was tremendous.
mm,
So what Britain realized that this is not going to last. They are taking away all our wealth. So what ended up happening is they introduced opium into the
yeah.
Chinese market, and they actually used India to do it. As a matter of fact, you see all the Parsis who are like super rich now, all the Parsi business families that you know of, right?
Mm,
Do you know how most of them acquired the wealth? They are now the largest landowners in India, but how did they acquire all
mm.
the wealth? It was through opium
Opium.
trade. So they would create the opium, right? They would transfer it over to China. They would sell it in China. They created all those trade routes. China was surely not happy about this. So they ended up fighting a war, which is called the Opium War. There were two opium wars, I believe.
Mm,
So China has undergone that backlash for centuries. Even in the 60s and 70s and 80s in the US, the Chinese community came under a lot of problems. during COVID, if you remember,
Yeah,
a
during
lot
COVID was a
of,
different. Yeah, during
yeah.
COVID.
So this has happened throughout the
Mm-hmm.
history of the world. Different communities have faced backlash in different settings. Right now, why are Indians facing all the backlash is because the economic situation is not good. So the companies are not being able to create as many jobs. The countries are not being able
Mm-hmm.
to create as many jobs. And if you see who are taking up most jobs, the immigrant population which is taking up most of the white collar jobs, that is Indians.
Yeah.
So that has happened. That is one thing. The other thing is in many countries like Canada and Australia, so many people have been moved there on false
Mm.
premises. Okay, so a lot of these Canadian immigration companies, they said that it's very easy. Just come to Canada. We'll get you sorted. Okay, we'll get you a job and stuff like that. So many Indians moved at once. Now they are unable to get jobs. They are unable to find a living for themselves. Therefore, a lot of Indians are actually coming back as well from these countries.
Yeah.
So that is why this backlash has suddenly happened. And I think eventually it's going to die down as well. It's not going to last forever. But right now, a lot of these countries are facing economic issues and they're blaming it on immigration, which is true to a certain extent, which is not
Mm-hmm.
incorrect also. But Indian community being the largest has fallen victim for this entire
Right.
fiasco.
That's true. That has a degree of truth to it, definitely. Yeah, I think we should, switch gears and move on to the next topic, which is I think the next best thing if you want to have a job outside right now, it's like that would be the next best thing would be the GCCs, the option of GCCs here in India right itself. I mean, there are big GCCs opening up if you want to experience that work culture. If you want to go outside like the way, through a job and everything, when you require less sustenance in terms of financial sustenance. Yeah, I think that definitely helps you. So I think getting experience in the GCCs in the India right now. India is right now the GCC capital of the world. Yeah, so I think that's
We've
where
discussed
people
more
should
about
focus.
this in our previous episode, so you might want to watch our
Yeah,
previous podcast on that video, on that topic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point. So yeah, I think now revisiting the UPSC and the CAT and the competitive exams in India, I think there's an aspect to it there that people don't talk about it a lot, talk about a lot maybe. People have started. There have been conversations right now, but in the recent times, but I think a lot of people already have been affected by it by this time. So why do you think the exams loom so large in the Indian society? The UPSC and the CAT exams, the competitive exams.
I think I already touched upon this topic, but I'll
Mm.
go deeper into this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, revisiting.
Yeah. So the problem with Indian system is that our population is so large that it
Mm.
is almost impossible to find out who are the good candidates out of this vast or
Mm.
millions of people who appear for these exams every year, right? It's not that everybody is incapable of cracking these exams or incapable of pursuing the target degree or the target course. It's just that the seats are limited. There's only so
Yeah.
many people that you can actually allow to study or to get these jobs, right? So the Indian system is to actually filter out as many people as
Mm.
possible. And therefore, they have come up with all these various exams so that the most hardworking, the most diligent can be found out from that large group of people. And this has continued for so long that now it is very difficult for people to think of a different way of life. They know that, okay, if I can crack an exam, I can get a job. If I can crack an exam, I can get a seat in a good college. And eventually, that good college will get me the job that I want.
Yeah. It's
They
about
essentially
placements.
don't, yeah, the placement, the concept of placements. Most people would be shocked that even if you go to the best of universities abroad, the Harvard and all of this, Harvard and the INSEADs of the world, nobody is going to come and offer you jobs. You have to go and apply. They might have career portals and all, but you'll have to end up applying eventually, apply on LinkedIn, reach out, do the networking, do all that stuff despite coming from a good college. So Indian system is very it's a spoon feeding culture,
Yeah, that is true.
right?
That's true.
So
I agree.
these exams exist because, and another reason why these exams exist is because the government cannot create as many jobs as is needed. So what do? They need to keep these people busy for a while, right? So that's why
Mm-hmm.
you have these UPSC aspirants struggling for 10 years because they think that they are doing something productive. This narrative that is there, that I did not crack UPSC, so what? I have learned so much, which is true. They will get to learn. but out of which, how much is actually usable?
Yeah.
How much can you use to actually make money eventually is the question. So I think for most people, 1, 2 years of their life, if they're spending on these exams, it is okay. But beyond that, I don't think it is reasonable to actually spend time on that. There are so many other things that somebody can do apart from these exams, which can probably resolve a lot of needs that they have in their life.
Definitely. I think that's the dark side of these competitive exams. I think people sacrifice a little too much for these exams. Their mental health or their family sacrifices the sunk cost. So it's a sunk cost trap at the end of the day. For people whom it doesn't work out exactly the way they want it to. I mean, I've heard about stories, and I've known people personally who have spent 7 years, 8 years of their life preparing for UPSC. I mean, think about that. That's almost a decade of your life gone and just trying for something. I think, yeah, I mean, revisiting the previous topic of failure, it's good if you have learned to overcome failure. But I think, you know, after a point, if a certain thing is not working out, I think you need to take a hard look at yourself if it's meant for you. At the end of the day, it's about that. It's not about what the society wants. Oh, how what your family wants. It's also about what you can do at the end of the day. If something is not for you, take a simple, clean, hard assessment of yourself, of the entire situation you're in, figure out a solution. And I think that is very possible to do. UPSC or CAT doesn't necessarily have to be the answer to it. Even giving my example, I would say that I have dropped 1 year for preparing for CAT and it did not work out. And the next thing I did was I was like, okay, I put up a middle finger to it and I was like, you know what? Let's go and get a job. And I went out and in the next 3 months I had a job. So yeah, and I think I wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
a
think
lot
the
of my
idea
friends.
is to become productive. What you're essentially
Yeah,
touching upon
yeah,
is that
yeah.
one is sunken cost fallacy, which you just
Mm,
mentioned, right? Most people fall into that trap. They think that, okay, I've already spent like 3 years. Let me go for it for one more year. And then they think, let me go for it for another year.
yeah.
And you end up losing like 7 years. That is
Mm,
sunken cost fallacy. And the second thing is being productive.
mm,
You have to realize that when you're in your
mm,
20s, it is the most productive years of your life. Even though you will
yeah.
not make as much money as you will make later
Mm,
on, but in terms of productivity, in terms of your learning capacity, you will be on the top. So focus on learning as much as you can and focus on becoming productive as quickly as you can. That is a sure shot
exactly.
way of becoming wealthier and more powerful than to just spend years grinding for these exams. And then the acceptance ratio of these exams, man, it is
Mm,
crazy.
mm,
Like it's almost like playing lottery with your life. And I
yeah,
absolutely hate lotteries.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
just don't get it.
It's all on probability. It genuinely does seem like that. Even I have seen it in that way. I mean,
0 point something percent of acceptance ratio. Even the best universities in the world have better acceptance ratio than this.
yeah. I mean, you're gambling away a decade of your life. That I don't think is.
I think it's
No matter
pointless.
how much you invest in it, I don't think
Yeah.
it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And, speaking of that, the other opportunities of not pursuing these courses, the other thing would be like, upskilling. So I think the new generation has another thing in their time, which is the AI, the advent of the AI. We did not have this. So I think the new generation has a fair advantage over the generations who are already in the workforce. They have lesser time to master the AI. It's all about how you can use the AIs, right? At the end of the day, I mean, you and I both know that. What's your take on that? Because I think for the new generation who complete their bachelor's, if they want to upskill, that's another added option to their already dilemma, that the dilemma that they're facing in their life right now. How can
Hmm.
learning AI, level up their opportunities and put them in an advantage? Because I'm pretty sure at their age, a lot of people are thinking about taking that up. What's your take
Yeah.
on it?
Well, my take on that is bit I think bit nuanced. So I don't think it's optional anymore. So when it started off, AI and LLMs, these were kind of like toys, but the way it has progressed over the last couple of years, I think it's no longer optional for anyone. For anyone. Okay. It doesn't matter what you're studying, who you are, what job you do. You have to learn to use AI to your advantage. That is number one, right? So it's like almost like Thanos. the dialogue that he had in the movie, right? You run from it, try to escape it, destiny still arrives. And it's inevitable. So I think the advent of AI and its importance, it's only going to increase from here on. It's not going to reduce. I personally use it for almost everything. I try to find as many new use cases as I can, right? And I am amazed by the superpower that it can unlock. So for most young people who are in their college, who are just starting off their career, I would say dive deeper on this. Try to find more use cases. Try to understand what are the tools that are coming out. Learn as much as you can.
Mm.
It might seem like so much is happening so quickly and you are missing out. You are missing out, and so is everybody. I am also in that same boat. So are you. All of us are in that same boat. None of us saw this coming. Now it is here, and now things are moving too fast. We are
Mm.
all on the same boat, but you need to focus on this as something that you need to learn. It's a new skill.
Yeah.
It's almost like the advent of the internet in a way, right? When the internet came out, people were not sure how to use this, but eventually the internet is now controlling our life.
Yeah.
Similarly, it's going to be the same for you when it comes to AI. So I would advise all young people, spend time on AI, not just to use it like a chatbot for your
Mm.
therapy related questions. Use it for a specific use case. Okay, connect it to your local machine. You have an app idea, create that app, see how it is trying to fix the code, right? You
Mm.
have a startup idea, discuss with it, right? Try to analyze a business, different use cases. I have used AI for use cases that I never thought. Like the other
Mm.
day, I was telling Rishav about it, that I wanted to see how I look like in a different haircut. So I uploaded an image in Gemini with Nano Banana. I asked it to show me, okay, how will different haircuts look on me? And it generated all these images. And
Mm.
eventually I decided, okay, this is the haircut I'll like to go for. I showed it to my barber and he did it, right? So
Mm.
the use cases are tremendous. It's just we are limited by our own imagination.
Yeah.
The more we
Yeah.
can think, the more we can probably use AI, but it is no longer optional.
Yeah.
You
That's for
cannot
sure.
escape from it. You have to learn it.
That's And speaking of AI, I think we have another video on it. So the link will be up somewhere. You can go ahead and check that out. And I think on learning, on the learning aspect of AI, the thing that I would like to say is like right now there is a lot of courses on AI, and since it is such an essential skill in the for the upcoming future, there are a lot of classes which give you free live classes for the first time as well. So you can go and check it out. For example, if you're ordering off Zepto, you will see one of their ads coming up. They give you, it's outskill.ai. It's a it's a very good class. I mean, it's a 3-day master class. It's grueling. It makes you sit down for the whole weekend. But when you come out of the weekend, you will be a changed person. You will be thinking differently. I have been there myself, and yeah, if you want, you can go for the paid courses as well, which are longer. So yeah, I think the options that you have of learning AI is infinite. The
And
reason
it's
I
ever
mentioned,
changing. It's not going to
yeah,
be static. It's ever
yeah,
changing.
it's ever
Every
changing.
new month,
Exactly.
something new is coming out.
Yeah,
So YouTube is a very good resource for that as well. If you just want to learn for
yeah,
free. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, the reason I mentioned Outskill is because I took their classes, and I benefited from it largely from the free master class. I didn't go for the paid course. It's a little
Hmm.
bit on the expensive side. If you can afford it, go for it. Check it out. You will learn how to think in a different way. And I think
Hmm.
that is one of the things that people require today as well. Learning how to think, especially in the age of AI, because there's one part of the population which does what you mentioned. They use the chat GPTs and the AIs like Google, and just to frame their emails and everything. Just the basic aspects. Then there's the other population, which is the polar opposite. They outsource every bit of their thinking to their AI. So yeah, I think keeping the thinking thing alive in your brain is required. It's an essential skill in the age of AI.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to an end to the conversation today. We have covered a lot of different topics, which we think is going to be very useful and informative for the young Indians that we are trying to help out through this YouTube channel. If you are interested to watch our previous podcast, we'll probably show them somewhere in the screen. And also, we have created videos on how moving abroad can absolutely supercharge your financial life, as well as you can unlock different career growth just by moving abroad. And most importantly, what are the 5 essential money mistakes that you should not make in your 20s? So I'm very happy that you joined Rishav and I in this podcast today. Stay tuned because next week we are coming out with another video as well as a solo video on a topic that we think is going to be very, very important for the young Indians out there. So thank you. And we hope that you enjoyed this podcast for Sorted with Sumit and Rishav, where we sort out your life one video at a time. Thank you.